Good morning, guys. I am Misty, and this is Dinner on a Dime. And today we're recording inside because it's rainy outside, too much noise going on. So we are inside here in the kitchen. So today's video is kind of exciting. I've been working on this one just recently, and I'm excited to dive into these ideas, and I hope you will be as well. So today's video is going to be about the top 10 food tips and tricks that were utilized during the Great Depression that we might need to start bringing back in 2025. So what was it that our grandparents, our great-grandparents were doing that helped them stretch every dollar, helped them stretch food so that they weren't, spending money that they didn't have, right? And some of us find ourselves in a similar position to some of these things that we're going to talk about today. And maybe we just don't realize here's a direction we can go in that will help save us money. It will help save us time. It's going to help us prep meals longer, stretch those dollars, right? We're going to stretch those dollars in 2025. Okay, so number one is they were very adept at adding fillers to recipes in order to stretch a meal. Meat was not the star of the show during the Great Depression. You weren't coming in and having a big, huge chicken breast on your plate. You weren't coming into a big, juicy beef burger, right? And so meat was not a standalone meal during the Great Depression. So meat was just an ingredient in the meal. And we may need to go back to meat not being the star of the show, okay? What were they stretching it with? Oatmeal, rice, breadcrumbs, beans, pasta, homemade bread. So lots of fillers that would make that meal stretch and last longer. So I've talked about this on the channel before, that you can add beans, you can add lentils, you can add pasta, you can make casseroles, you can do things so that meat is not the star ingredient. Meat is just a player in the game, okay? You don't want it to star in the film, you want it to be part of the supporting cast of the film. So it may be time to go back to that. Meat is just continuing to rise. Every time I go to the store, even the clearance meat is not a good deal anymore. And so it's getting tougher. This may be one that we need to revisit. Okay, number two, communal cooking. So if you've ever heard the story of stone soup, this is one that I grew up with, where one person just had a pot of boiling water. And the next thing you know, someone comes in and adds some onions. That's all they had was onion. And the next person comes in, all they have is a few potatoes and they add it in. And the next person comes in and they have carrots and they add it in. And the next thing you know, you've got this big pot of hearty soup that the entire community could share together. Now, we're in 2025. My community is probably not going to come together to cook anything. So what do I mean? Get with your group of friends, okay? Have a friends day or have a big family meal where everyone contributes something to the meal, okay? So you aren't having 20 people over at your house and you're responsible to feed all 20 of these people, because that cost is going to be astronomical. So what I'm talking about is have each person contribute something to the meal. We like to do this, especially for like Super Bowl party or Christmas party. We usually do Mexican food for Christmas party. So one person will be like, I'm going to bring rice and beans. One person's going to do a taco bar. One person's going to bring chicken enchiladas. And the next thing you know, you have a buffet of food to eat and everyone gets plenty of food, but you didn't have to cook everything. You weren't responsible to put out all of that additional cost for everyone else. Now, it does help make meals that are large enough for everyone to share and enjoy together, or meals that are large enough. Say you just want to meet up at a community center and do all of the cooking, and then you're going to package it up and each person's going to take that meal home for their family. You can do that either way. I'm gonna have to stop here for just a second. My daughter is texting me something about her Navy stuff, and then I'll be right. Sorry about that, guys. We're trying to figure out some things with her placement tests and stuff that she needs for the nuclear program. So, all right, number three, serve meatless meals during the week. This one would be a little hard in my house. I'm gonna admit that. My family doesn't necessarily like to have meatless meals, but can you have spaghetti with sauce without meat? Absolutely. Can you do hamburger helper without meat? Yes, you can. There's lots of different things you can do without meat in them. Now, what do I mean meat has become a luxury again. Meat was a luxury during the Great Depression. So when I hear people talking about the high cost of meat, if ground beef is $9 a pound where you live, you can eat spaghetti without ground beef in it, okay? We also have started finding ground pork a lot cheaper than ground beef, and we can substitute that in for some meals. But the point here is to go meatless for at least one meal a week, okay? Make more of your meals stretch around beans, lentils, or eggs. That's what they did during the Great Depression, beans, lentils, and eggs instead of meat. So I could do this. I could do breakfast for dinner. My family would be perfectly okay with that. I could do a vegetable soup. They would probably go for that. There are a few things I could do. So if it gets to the point where meat just gets crazy, which is already there, meat's already crazy, but I'm still occasionally finding good stock up deals on it. And that's what I do. I just focus only on stocking up when it's a good deal, but bring in some meatless meals if that's something you can do for your family. Baked potato night. That's another one I could do in my house. My family would definitely go for a baked potato night. All right, number 4, use mock foods or substitute foods and ingredients. So what does a mock food mean? Okay, so I actually found a good example of this from the Great Depression. It got very expensive to make pie crust for apple pie. And so they started using Ritz crackers to form the crust of their apple pie. And they found that it was a great mock crust for their apple pie. It still tasted delicious and everyone enjoyed it. So could you do something like that for a mock ingredient, or could you substitute an expensive ingredient for a cheaper ingredient? Okay, I preach this on my channel, so you guys are going to know that I am going to agree with this one. Absolutely, if I don't have an ingredient, I will learn what I can substitute in its place. If an ingredient that I need is very expensive, I'm going to learn what I can substitute in its place. I am not going to spend money on additional expensive ingredients, especially in 2025, because I guarantee you, you were overpaying for it a couple of years ago. You're definitely still going to be overpaying for it now. All right, number 5, save your bacon grease for cooking later. So what does this do? It offers a nice flavor substitute for butter and oil. It gives a smokier depth of flavor than you're gonna get out of traditional oils. What else does it do? It reduces food waste, it reduces cost, and it creates sustainable practices in your own home. So you do wanna strain that grease before you save it, and then either save it in the refrigerator or save it in the freezer. Now I will tell you my funny bacon grease saving story. I've tried this in the past. I did it in a glass mason jar. And it was going really well until one day it didn't. And so when I poured in the hot grease on top of the cold grease, it completely cracked in a straight line all the way around the mason jar and just like slid, you could just slide it off. So don't do that. Don't make my mistake. But like old coffee cans are great for storing bacon grease in. That's what my grandparents did. You can buy a container on Amazon to save your bacon grease in. It's not that expensive to do that. So that would be an option as well. But I do definitely think that that's a good one to do. Number 6, plan your meals where you can utilize your leftovers multiple times in multiple ways. So again, I've preached this one on my channel, so you know I'm going to agree with this one as well. Make sure you're making meals that you can then utilize your leftovers. So an example is make a roast on Sunday, okay? Then maybe have leftover roast on Monday. Then take your roast part of it, your leftovers, and turn into a roast and vegetable soup. And then save the rest of the roast, slice it up, and make open-faced roast sandwiches with gravy on them later in the week. So you see how you're making completely different meals out of it, but still utilizing that one thing that you made earlier in the week. So this streamlines your meal decisions, your meal planning. It makes it super easy to plan throughout the week based on this one core ingredient. And it reduces food waste because you are making sure you're utilizing that whole roast that you bought, especially with the price of roast right now. You're going to want to make sure that you utilize it all. So there you go. Meal plan it out throughout the whole week. Number 7, make broth from your bones or your vegetable peels and scraps. So you just simply boil it and it creates a flavor-packed broth that you can utilize later in your cooking. And then you can can those up, and then you have them for essential meal planning down the road, whether it be later in the month, later in the season, later in the year, right? So again, this one's going to require a little prep work because you're going to have to get some jars. You're going to have to get the lids, the seal, like the rings. You're going to have to learn how to do that correctly. So I would love to start making my own broth. In fact, that's probably the next thing I need to have my mom come over and teach me how to can is broth. And the reason I say have my mom come over and teach me is the one time she came over and we did it together, I was successful. The other time I was not. And so I feel like I still kind of need mom looking over my shoulder and telling me the way here, okay? Number 8, trade and barter with your neighbors. So I do have lots of neighbors that have animals. So I could trade maybe vegetables that I grow, which I've told you I've not been very successful at, but last year I did grow a lot of jalapenos, okay? So I could trade jalapenos for eggs. Or I could say, hey guys, I have grown pumpkins in the past. Would you like a pumpkin for Halloween? I'll trade you for tomatoes that you grew. Or I grew watermelons, and watermelon's a great treat for chickens. So, hey, if I give you watermelon for your chickens, will you give me eggs from your chickens? So learn how to barter within the community that you are a part of. I know that one's kind of hard in 2025. We are not as interconnected as we used to be during the Great Depression. We are not depending on one another in the same way. And we kind of live more in a society where it's like every man for themselves instead of let's come together as a community and see how we can help one another. But you can also kind of do this within your own friend group. What do your friends do that you could barter or trade for? Or could you just start cooking double meals? Like, hey guys, I'm making lasagna this week. Who would like to trade for a lasagna for a meal that you're making? Okay, so it doesn't take that many more ingredients to stretch into 2 lasagnas. And then I can give someone a lasagna and maybe they give me back a pan of enchiladas with rice and beans, and boom, we have swapped it out. We've traded out. I have cooked once. I am meal prepping twice. Okay, you see how that one would work? All right, number 9, turn old fruit into new products. So turn old fruit that's just going bad on the counter into jam, jelly, syrup, or breads, desserts, etc. Smoothies, right? Turn it into ice cream. Ice cream, so good. So what does this do? It reduces food waste and it makes a good use of any overage that you have incurred, right? So like I made banana bread this last week because I still had 3 bananas on the counter. My son had taken bananas every day for lunch, but we still ended up with 3. And so I was like, okay, instead of those bananas just sitting there going bad, we are gonna make them into banana bread. I have some oranges on the counter right now. I have apples on the counter right now. If we start to get to a point where those are going bad, we will utilize them. The apples, I would maybe turn into a cobbler. They're Honeycrisp apples. I think that'd be really good in a cobbler. The oranges are perfect for what we call Bobby's cake in my family. That's kind of like a cake that's got pineapple and orange in it. And so we're definitely going to utilize those ingredients. We're not going to just let them sit there and go bad. So this helps to stretch your dollar and it helps to reduce your dependency to buy those products pre-made. Okay, if I bought a bunch of, let's just say grapes, and I'm not going to use them and they're going to go bad, and I turn it into grape jelly and I jar it for down the road, I am reducing my dependency to buy that product later. I'm saving myself money down the road by having that grape jelly, and I'm probably making a healthier version of grape jelly, right? Because I can reduce the amount of sugar in it. I can cater the ingredients to exactly how clean I want that grape jelly to be, because not all of them at the store are the same. Not all of them are going to be just your base ingredients. A lot of them are going to have added ingredients in them, and you can prevent that in your own home. All right, number 10, buy bulk staples when possible by pooling your resources. So what does that mean? Okay, my mom has a Costco card. I have a Sam's Club card. Anytime we go to one of those, we are shopping as a team. What can we buy at a discounted price that we can then split between the 2 of us? So we are splitting the product, we are splitting the cost. We are also preventing food waste. So especially if you're buying large bulk amounts of produce or bread or anything like that, it's so easy for it to go bad in one house. If you're splitting it between multiple houses, then it doesn't go bad as quickly. When I buy a produce share, like a $20 produce share where you get about $60 worth of produce, I can't use all of that in my house before it goes bad, and there's not really enough to make items to can. So when I do that, I'm actually splitting it between 3 houses, mine, my mom's, and my daughter's. So then that cost gets divided by 3 and the produce gets divided by 3. So you buy as a team or a group and then split the items and share the cost on those items. Everyone in that circle ends up paying less than they would have if they had went and bought those items on their own. Okay, that's the name of the game here, saving money as a group. And it encourages shared meal planning and shared resource planning. Okay, so me and my mom, it's crazy how this works. Maybe it's not, because you're kind of like your parents, right? But she'll text me and she'll say, what's for dinner tonight? Or I'll text her, what's for dinner tonight? And she'll be like, oh, chicken strips, mashed potatoes, and green beans. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm making fajita chicken with roasted potatoes and corn. It's always something very similar, it seems like, that we are doing. Had we got together and kind of shared our meal ideas and our meal plans, then we could buy more items in bulk. We could save that money and we could split those ingredients even further. So these are what I found that I thought would be the top 10 easiest things to bring back in 2025 from the Great Depression. So if you can think of others, things that you would actually use, list them below in the comments, because I'm interested to see what else people are doing that they are bringing back from a different generation in time that is definitely applicable, especially in 2025 when we just continue to see prices get more and more out of control. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and make sure to ring that little notification bell. That way you know every time a new video is headed your way. All right, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye. Go save some money.